Hello again, Struckweb. Today I'm bringing you another build video for Warhammer Chaosbane, and this one is for the Mage, for Elontir. And it is my take on a build centered around the Dragontamer set together with the Blade of Azyre, which gives us a heroic version of the Phantom Blade. I decided to call it the Azyre Arcane Phantom. There is a bit of flexibility in regards to some skills being able to be changed for other skills, but the basic stuff about the build is that we're dealing most of our damage with the heroic Phantom Blade. We're using Blinding Light to help us regenerate HP and get some damage reduction, which unfortunately doesn't seem to help that much. Even when stacked over 110% damage reduction, I still can get one shot if I'm not careful. Then we're using Step Between Worlds to help a bit with burning enemies, to proc stuff and to get away from danger or to go inside the enemy's ranks. Then the God skill I've included is helping along with burning the enemies to proc stuff, and it can move around with us, so I do like using that one. Then the skill that you're seeing now, the dome, makes the enemies that stand inside this dome take 25% extra damage. And then what else? The build is missing a way to replenish HP by spending energy. So you can use a lot of different skills here. There's 5 different skills that can use energy, so you can pick the one you like. In this build video I picked the firewall, but you can pick maybe something different. I've experimented with all 5 of them, and I guess it's up to personal preference what skill you would use here. But the more energy we waste, the more HP we get, and that's how it works. So stay tuned. I'm gonna show you a bit about the skills, the god skills, and then about the gear in detail, and after that I'm gonna finish up with the rest of this recording of Chaos 7 that I was doing. And the build, when maxed out with proper gear, should be able to even push Chaos 8 and high level invasions. When it comes to the skills, I think this build is one of the setups that can be kind of flexible. There are of course some things that you always will be using when going for that type of setup, and that would be the Heroic Phantom Blade and the Heroic Arcane Binding. Then things I would strongly suggest keeping would be the Blinding Light Mastered and the Step Between Worlds, which could be mastered, but it could also be superior depending whether you want it to be fire or magical. And you can even go for the most basic one um, if you don't want those effects. But I do like this burning effect, and it does help for certain things. But if you want repelling, this is good. Then Etheric Vortex I suggest keeping on the superior one, because it makes the enemies underneath the dome take 25% extra damage. Alternatively, you can get the one that burns enemies, which can synergize well with Akshi Mastery, but there's other ways to burn the enemies. And I've picked this one together with Phoenix Bulwark or Arcane Manifestation. And speaking of Phoenix Bulwark, you can immediately replace this with another skill to burn the enemies, which is Breath of Fire. Basically what this skill does here for us is it uses the energy. So you can either use Phoenix Bulwark, Breath of Fire, you can use Etheric Orb, or you can use the Etheric Tornado. So that's a few skills you can use. You can even use Etheric Ray if you want to, as long as the skill would help you burn energy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options in regards what to put here. And I chose this or this as the top choices because they would actually allow us to burn through the energy fast and burn enemies to proc some things. Tornado is also not a bad choice to burn energy, but it's not fire. And there's a good option to get the fire tornado, but then you would have to remove some skill points from other places, so maybe this can be downgraded. And if you want the fire tornado, then downgrade this to magic. If you want the magic tornado, then downgrade this to to magic as well, and then try and get burning from some other place. And Arcane Manifestation is something I've decided to go for, but you can replace that and maybe spend the points here and get 1, 2, 3, 4 points, or maybe you just can get 1 point here and then spend those other 3 points that we're gonna be left with 4 points. So if you get this, and then we would have 4 points that we can spend 1, 2, 3, and maybe 1 point here for extra damage. That's just an option. But then you would have to rework, because this costs 6, this costs 18. Or if you want to use this for 6, you can then get rid of those 5 points, and then you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe, or whatever else you can decide for 4, 5. But yeah, that's just an example. I actually have 1 point left here that I haven't spent, and you can spend it wherever you want. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would be the best choice with the 5 points you can get from there. So back to that, I've decided to include Duelist Chain Reaction. You get that from invasions. Arcane Secrets Mastered. Burning enemies take more magical damage, and this is why I want burning. Good synergy. Then fire damage is increased, and each nearby burning enemy increases crit hit chance. Pretty nice to give you some extra crit chance and to give you some extra fire damage, but you can replace this. This is one of the things that can be changed. So there's different passives you can take. So those equilibriums are not a bad choice, but I'd suggest staying away from them. If your gear gives you enough counterattack damage, you can maybe put this, but this needs to give you more than 20% on the skill to make it worth taking over that. But this 20% would be applying to fire and magical. So if you end up getting gear with counterattack damage, but not don't try to get it, just only if you end up having much, use this. Otherwise don't. Something you can try is Aether Intelligence for the damage reduction, but then you have to use Aether Manipulation on this skill, which is not bad, but it's not the best. Another thing you might want to try is Concentration. This would give you crit chance, energy regeneration, and this one would give you even health regeneration, so you might want to check which one of those you would prefer. Quake Shield I like to use with the energy cost increase. That means we are healing more when using Phoenix Bulwark or whatever other energy depleting skill we pick. So this gives us more damage, this gives us more health restored when using energy skills, and it gives us some extra energy cost. So the more energy we use, the more we heal. And of course we mentioned Arcane Binding, Heroic, and then Quaish Mastery. I decided to go for the superior because you see this is energy gain 50% and extra magical damage, whereas this one is just the magical damage, but it's woes. So I'd rather go for this one. We regenerate energy fast, so we can burn the energy faster and heal more. This should be pretty much it in regards what to change. As I said, don't change this one. Keep it the way it is. Keep it the magical version, and I do suggest keeping this one the superior version. Phantom Blade is the main source of damage, it's the bread and butter of this build, and it's where all the damage comes from, combined with all the other things. Now I'm gonna talk a bit about the god skills, or actually before talking about the god skills, I will quickly show you what I decided to pick for the legendary ranks. The legendary ranks I prefer using are either Legendary Punishment, and I try to go for 20%. I think 20% is fine, but you can try and get it to like 25%, whatever works for you. find your balance in how much percentage and how much damage taken you want the enemies. If you want a mixture between damage reduction and damage, you go for reinforcement. If you want only damage reduction, which I do find to not be working well. I've tried stacking over 100% damage reduction and I still can get one shot from certain enemies. You can go for legendary endurance. But yeah, those are the three I would suggest, and this is my preferred choice. So now on to the god skills. For the god skills, as I told you in the skills section, there are things that you could change. If you don't want to use Arcane Manifestation and want to use Spiritual Prison, by all means go ahead and do it. But I do like to use this because it moves around with me and it lasts for 15 seconds, whereas this one only lasts for a few seconds and it only stays in one place. But you can remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, and I also at the moment have one unspent point, which anyone can spend wherever they want, whether it's damage, armor, HP, or whatever else you want. So if you get those 5 points and then that 1 point, we have 6 points, which the best place to spend them would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This would give you a total of 110 crit damage for 6 points. It also gives you extra 5% energy and 4% flat damage. So not a bad choice of alternating this. I decided to give you just an alternative. For those of you who are only using the old god skill trees, if you are interested in a setup for that, you could try experimenting with certain things, but I don't see anything that really makes me wanna pick it up. As I said, I've experimented with damage reduction when static, and I can still get one shot. It's just not worth it. I'm not sure why I would wanna go that way, and I'm not a big fan of this skill. And Aether Blast could do a lot of damage, but cooldown is long, and then there's the delay, and yeah, maybe something like this won't be that bad, but you don't want energy cost reduction, you want the energy cost to be increased, so this one increases the cooldowns as well. This one gives you energy cost increase, and this one gives you energy cost increase, so in a way maybe it could help you heal up more with that one. So just think about maybe what you might need, but I do suggest using the god skills from the DLC and the seasons pack. Now moving on to the gear. For the gear we are going for the Dragontamer set, because we want the Heroic Arcane Binding for that extra 300% damage and unfortunately that energy cost reduction. But yeah, dealing magical damage increases fire spell damage and reduces its energy cost and vice versa. So we get that. We get that extra fire and magical projectiles while we are dealing damage with the different elements. And together with Blade of Azyre, which gives us the Heroic Phantom Blade, and Relentless Sentinel that gives us extra damage while standing still, together with some crit chance and even some damage reduction, which doesn't seem to help much, but maybe I haven't stacked it well. I mean, I've tried to stack over 110% damage reduction and I was still taking one hits, as I said. But yeah, so let's just throw this. Yeah, just try to find whatever might work for you, but that's my suggestions. Alternative choices would be to try and you can use the Scepter of Ice and here place the Breath of Fire, but it would do magical damage. It's not a bad choice to quickly burn down some energy. If you want to be burning enemies, Phoenix Herald is not bad, it gives you a fiery aura, and since you're going melee, there would almost always be enemies next to you. And it would help a lot with this skill and with this skill. So those are the other two choices I would suggest. Then when it comes to to something that I was not using in the build video is I'm quickly gonna show you something that probably is gonna get patched, but keep it in mind. If you put the Blade of Azyre in a different slot, let's say I unequip this Blade of Azyre and then I equip the Blade of Azyre here, like this one, I would still be able to go here in this build and put the Heroic Phantom Blade. The same would go for let's say I want that Heroic Scepter of Ice skill, the Fire Breath. And I can go in my skills again on my regular build here, and I can equip this Ethereal Breath without needing to equip it on my own. So just keep that in mind. Currently, things that give you heroic skills, you can equip it in a secondary set, switch back to the normal and still get the effect. That means if you don't have a good road Blade of Azyre, you can just chug it in one of the other inventories and then equip something like either Blade of Instability, or another great choice would be a Rift Eater. Rift Eater is amazing with this build if you kind of do that setup. So Rift Eater or Blade of Instability is what you might wanna chug. Of course, the Blade of Azyre is the one that you wanna get used to, because if they change this and fix it, then you would have gotten used to doing something that may be an exploit, maybe it isn't, maybe it's getting patched, maybe it isn't, so you don't know. So for now, just keep that in mind. And let's talk about rows. What rows we wanna get. On the armor pieces you want armor, HP, and preferably not cost reduction. Avoid cost reduction, avoid wood quality, and on the helmet you want cooldown reduction. Definitely avoid cooldown reduction. Counterattack damage, as I said, if you do end up getting shit tons of it, it's not bad. Then you can use a skill that can give you some extra damage. But if you don't get a lot of it, then try to avoid it. Good stats would be health, armor, and maybe some energy won't be bad. Some energy won't be bad at all. That goes for all pieces, but this one is the only one that can give you cooldown reduction from the armors. Then there's the bracers. The bracers can give you damage stats from the armor pieces. So here you want armor, you want damage, you do not want damage over time for this setup, but you want HP. And crit damage is not bad thing to have, so it's definitely better than I'm not sure whether this can get energy cost, but it's definitely better than resistance to damage over time, unless you want resistance to damage over time for cinch enemies or for pushing invasions. So energy is not bad. You can get energy, but I would try and get armor, flat damage, HP, crit damage, and then maybe some energy. Then here you want a phase shift amulet, because the phase shift amulet allows you to deal 50% extra damage to nearby enemies. Another good choice if you don't have it would be, there was one that gives you cooldown reduction. This build really doesn't need cooldown reduction, to be honest, but it would help you. More cooldown reduction means being able to spam the potion more, and being able to spam things like this more, and teleport out of tough situations more, and put Etheric Vortex Superior more. Even the God skill you can do more often, but the best in slot would be Phase Shift Amulet. This is just the second best. Anything else I would strongly suggest avoiding. This one is good for when farming, but when farming I suggest using the Belkuradris set, and I would be making a farmer's build maybe tomorrow and uploading it for all of you to see what the most suitable build for farming, speed farming would be. Good stats to look out for: crit hit chance, flat damage, armor, HP, and maybe some crit damage, but the crit damage you can get from here is not that much, so just think about whether you want it or not. But prioritize flat damage, armor and HP. Cooldown reduction is not bad, but as I said, this build specifically does not really need that much cooldown reduction, but it's always good to have it. And the exact same stat rules apply to the rings, so try to look out for the exact same things. Flat damage, crit chance. I don't think I've mentioned crit chance, so flat damage, crit chance, armor and HP. Maybe get some crit hit damage, but not so important. But cooldown reduction is definitely nice. For rings, I do like having the old Ring of Resonance to be able to stun the enemies, because we're up close and personal, so the more the enemies are stunned, the less they would be hitting us. You can stun them by using this skill, and this skill. 3 skills that can stun the enemies, and by using those skills we also proc do this chain reaction, so pretty nice synergy there. So if you don't have Ring of Resonance from the invasions, until you get it, Ring of Cain's Fury is a great increase for the damage. Crit chance stacking helps us get that extra 3 second 50% damage. 3 seconds is not that much, so it's not that big of a deal if you can get it. Another good ring is Ring of Denial for damage reduction, but decreased our damage, but gives us extra damage. Or this one, more health and more healing. Those are good bases. Ring of Hotek is also nice, because when we crit we get energy and health. We don't care about the energy that much, but we do care about the health here. And Dragon Ring can give you some extra damage reduction, which you can stack with Ring of Denial if you really think stacking damage reduction is worth it. I do like using Ring of Radiance because currently I do suffer from lack of cooldown reduction. You can see only 29%, so I decided to go for Ring of Radiance, which is also quite nice. And yeah, it definitely helps me. And I forgot to say about the boots. The boots can give you speed bonus. It's not something to really want to get, but it definitely helps having some extra speed. But the same rules as I said for the other pieces apply here. Armor, HP, and maybe some energy would be nice, but you really don't need energy on this build because you keep regaining it. So armor, HP, and I would say something like I'm not even sure what should be prioritized on those other than armor and HP. Counterattack damage would help, definitely would help if you're using that passive, but otherwise don't get it. So I think I've said a lot about the gear. I hope everything is clear. If you have any questions further, just ask me in the comment section and I'll make sure to answer those. Next off would be some more gameplay for you to see. So I'm continuing the clip from where it cut off before the skill section, and I'll just be showing you the rest of this dungeon. As you can see, how to play the build is not difficult at all. You just have to pay attention to not get hit by many enemies at once and try to burst the elites. The elites are the ones that most of the time would do the problem, and you can try and maybe implement using the Aether skill orb that pulls enemies close together like a singularity. There's also a Tornado skill that can pull the skills as a singularity. I did prefer to use the Burning Firewall, but maybe you might want to get some crowd control to cluster them up so you can just hit them with a few shots and get everyone downed. But yeah, bursting the elites is crucial to make sure you don't die, and saving your step between two worlds to avoid explosions or to avoid hits or whatever is a good idea always. You can see here again teleporting, spamming this dome on him. so he can take some more damage, so I can burst him. It's very nice. I'm pretty fond of this setup, and I think even with another set that is not the Dragontamer, you can have an okay melee build, but not with as high damage as this. But currently it does seem that the Heroic Phantom Blade is the strongest damage skill of the mage, which is kind of a weird thing to have, the melee skill being the strongest skill setup on a mage right now. And now you're gonna see how I kind of at the start played it a bit recklessly, not focusing the elites and going straight for the boss. And then I ended up taking a lot of damage from the elites together with the boss. Thankfully I managed to survive by bailing out a bit, so that's a great thing about the build's mobility. Then I did try to do a few more bursts from a safer distance, of course, first. There we go. Trying to not get hit by the elites, then one of them charged me and of course got damaged by my god skill, and he's still alive over there, but you can see he's kind of almost dead. And then again I'm bailing out, going into the boss fight. But I think it's better to just focus the elites sometimes. If you can focus the elites, few hits would make your life easier on bosses if you make sure you kill the ads. Maybe even pull the ads out of the room. Losing a few more seconds would at least make it safer for you to make sure you're not gonna die and you're not gonna be losing time like me just staying on the side and making sure that the elites are dead. And now I think there's just one elite and the boss. So I think this is where I decided to ignore the elite and just focus the boss, because it was one of those melee. And look at what happens when I focus him. His HP just got kind of drained with a few hits, then I bailed out again, and then again few hits together with the dome to make him take more damage, and bam bam, and he's dead. So that's it for how to play the build. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be uploading more builds. I will be uploading a speed running build for Chaos 5 and 6 with the Belcorad reset for this dude and some more for the other characters. So if you want to be notified when this happens and when I upload content for other games, not just Chaosbane, but Torchlight Frontiers, Wolfsen, Borderlands 3 and maybe some more in the future, you can subscribe to my channel, and you can also let me know whether you liked or disliked the video by hitting the corresponding button and leaving a comment so I could know what you like or dislike. Thanks everyone for watching. Keep it cool, struck up. I hope you enjoyed the video again, and until next time, goodbye.